Looks like we are live. Good morning, good evening, afternoon, good all the things depending upon your time zone. Hello, everybody. So we are live. Before I officially get going, I just want to check in. Now, I know we're on a delay, so it'll take a sec for me to get your response, but can you see me and can you hear me? Please just let me know in the comments. I want to make sure that the audio and video are both solid. And while we're at it, please say hello in the comments. Tell us where you're from and what are you hoping to see from our live stream today. And speaking of comments in general, they do make me very, 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 very happy. Comments are like my happy dance moments. So please, throughout our time today, I want to hear all of your thoughts, feelings, questions, all in the comments. And one of my team members is going to be in the comments as well. So she'll be in and out to make absolutely sure that all of your questions are getting tracked and answered by the end at the very, very latest. So I'm just going to check and see, can you see me and hear me? Let's see. So on my end, it looks like, because I have to click to join. So I'm just going to check and turn off the audio. You think. Okay, let's see. And now, apologies, everybody. I have done a number of live streams, but the comments seem to be different today. Christopher, I got a yes. I think I got a yes. So by the way, the comments are not coming in order for me, and it's not showing me how to put them in order. So Julie will be in and out to make absolutely sure I respond to everything, and I'm going to do my best to track them. It looks like they're coming from the bottom up. Chad is here. Wanda is here. Marvin, is Marvin? Is Marvin here live? Keith is here. Shamima is here. Wow, all these beautiful, beautiful people. Some of you I know, some of you I know from LinkedIn. Really great to see you all here. So let's get going, shall we? So I want you to take a moment to consider something. I want you to take a moment to consider power, the energy of power versus force. So those subversive thoughts, layers of control, a perceived sense of urgency, subtle feelings of fear, self-doubt, feeling not good enough. If all of the unconscious places that were unintentionally causing force were shifted into authentic power, what would that do to grow your business or create harmony and collaboration in your relationships? And for now, I also want you to consider where you would like to see change. In fact, I want to hear in the comments which of these specific areas resonates the most for you. So maybe you desire a huge planetary change. Maybe a deep knowing in your soul is driving you to disrupt an industry, protect the earth, or contribute to society. Maybe you're focused on organizational change. You want your team to be more committed, or you have a board, investors, and co-leaders or clients who have been resistant to change, and you want to break through those barriers. Or maybe the change that you wish for is personal: time and money freedom, the opportunity for your family to thrive, or growth within yourself, how you feel and who you're being in the world. So I want to hear in the comments which form of change drives you the most. Hello, Alan. Alan's here as well. Yeah, I want to hear which form of change drives you the most. Now, whatever your desires are for change, here is a truth that is all encompassing. And really, I want you to let this truth sink in, even if your change desires are purely personal. So as a leader today, and remember, leadership means a lot of things because we are leaders within ourselves first and foremost before we lead out in the world. So as a leader today, you require the presence of a Buddha, the perseverance of Mandela, the compassion of Jesus, and the fierceness of Gandhi. But you don't have time to sit on a mountaintop to get it. Now, that might sound like a huge promise, but it's a promise that is possible because of one key energy that encompasses all of these ways of being, okay? All of these ways of being, and that is the energy of authentic power. Now, there is one key form of embodiment that will shift you out of force and into authentic power. It'll shift you out of exhaustion and into consistent, ever-flowing energy, out of struggle into flow, out of heady intellect that makes life sticky or frustrating, and into consistently growing wisdom that comes from someplace bigger than just you alone. The embodiment that will help you shift into all of these areas is connection. So today, I'm going to take you through a 4-part blueprint. Okay, we're going to actually have an intro and a 4-part blueprint to develop an unshakable presence within yourself so that you can connect the dots between business and personal success with a lot less effort. Now, by the end of our time today, oops, my pen is not quite on yet. By the end of our time today, you are going to have a clear path to consistent connection within yourself, with others, and with whatever you consider that bigger energy: God, source, universe, etc. Okay, by the end of our time today, you're gonna have a consistent connection with all 3 of these elements of connection, no matter how busy you are, no matter how much you have on your plate, and no matter how many people are counting on you. And you'll know how to use that connection to gain freedom of time, to lead your team and clients with natural influence, and make stronger decisions to grow your business with less turmoil and a lot more ease. This is the same framework that my students have used to get back 15 hours plus a week, along with the energy that they need for what's really important to them. It's the same framework that my students have used to feel calmer and more trusting with their, money flow, creating stability while scaling their businesses, paying off mortgages faster, and having more money to travel and play. Okay, and it's the same framework my students have used to attract in clients and team members who are a better fit for their vision, okay, contribution. Now, later on, I'm going to give you examples of how they've done all of these things through connection. So if you don't know me yet, hello, I am Jordanna Eyre. I'm the co-founder of Spiral Growth Systems, formerly known as Modern Day Sorcerer. I help business leaders activate their authentic power, driving exponential growth through a proven self-awareness strategy. In my program, the Spiral Leadership Academy, we use a nonlinear framework for soul exploration that will help you break through internal and external barriers of change as a leader so that you have equal amounts of professional impact and personal fulfillment. Now, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what kind of neurodivergence you have, whether you're logical or empathetic, okay, or how advanced you already are in personal growth work. I have taught this blueprint to well over 3,500 students, and it will enhance the results you can get from connection, no matter who you are, what industry you're in, what level of leadership you're in, and how deep you have already gone. Okay, so what we are working on today is one of the 9 Spiral Leadership Accelerators that I use to help my students embody their unique sweet spot between impact and fulfillment, where these two intersect. Okay, and today you're going to be learning to master an accelerator that we call Create Connection. Oh no, this. So today we are working with this. These are the 9 accelerators. I'm just going to quickly go back through so you know what the heck I'm talking about. These are the 9 accelerators that I use to help my students master their sweet spot between impact and fulfillment. And today we're specifically working again with one of the accelerators that we call Create Connection. Now, if you are curious though about all 9 of these accelerators, then stick around, because before the end of today, I'm going to give you a free self-assessment that will walk you through each accelerator to help you assess where you are right now in your growth and your leadership skills. So 4 main pieces that we are going to cover today. And I want to hear in the comments which of these feels most like a missing piece for you. Okay, they're simple, but they're not simple ultimately. Okay, so today we are going to go over how to create connection through integrating the mind with the body, and then activating and integrating that mind and body connection with the inner knowing in your soul and the limitless capacity of your spirit. These are actually the 4 quadrants that we work with when we go deep into a leadership accelerator each month in Spiral Leadership Academy. We go mind, body, soul, spirit to make absolutely sure that we're getting full body transformation inside and outside in your leadership and business. So we're working with that today. Now, we need to activate all 4 of these elements in our connection to ourselves to be really solid in that connection. So you're definitely going to want to stick around for all 4 so that you can learn to integrate them together. But if at any point today you have to be somewhere, or maybe you're just feeling a pull to learn more about how my framework for self-aware leadership can help you uniquely, then I'm going to put this up on the screen. If you go to spiralgrowthsystems.com/spiral strategy call to speak with us directly to see if this is the best path forward for you, we can chat about, is this the best path forward? Get a gauge of what measurable results we can help you with. So that link is up on the screen, or you can put it into your URL at any point. And before we go into the blueprint for connection, okay, what we need to do now is look at why connection is so important, okay? Because connection runs so much deeper than meets the eye. So at every moment of every day, we have 2 crucial realities in life and business, okay? There is your inner, make sure you can see that, your inner reality, and your outer reality, okay? Now, these are a lot more connected than they appear, and creating connection like you're going to learn how to do today will help you understand how they truly interconnect, okay? So this inner reality is how you feel about yourself, the world, and your life. It's how you perceive yourself and others, and it's the inner workings that will help you navigate your human experience from the inside out. And then this external reality is what's actually going on, like tangibly, practically going on in your business, your relationships, and the physical circumstances of your life, okay? Your money flow, what's happening in relationships, etc. Now, if at any moment these realities, or in any moment, these realities can either be congruent with the experience that you wish to have, or incongruent with the experience you wish to have. For example, let's say that your internal reality is that you are on fire with purpose, okay? But your external reality is made up of lost opportunities, people who resist change. If that's the case, then there is incongruence, okay? Your external reality is trying to tell you something about a part of your consciousness that wants to make itself known, okay? Or we could say, for example, the incongruence could be the other way around. So like maybe you're doing great. I need the pen. Maybe you're doing well in business, but on the inside, you struggle with imposter syndrome, and maybe you feel like the other shoe is going to drop. So when we resist or avoid what life is trying to send into our conscious awareness, we miss out on the opportunities to grow in our authentic power. We ignore the shadow, so it stays lurking under the surface and comes out into and onto our business, our loved ones, or in the form of self-sabotage. And we miss the clues life is giving us to stretch into embodying and therefore co-creating our deepest desires, because all forms of co-creation with life must come first from embodiment. Energy precedes physicality, okay? Now, although our internal and external reality are guided by connection, connection is also like a fuel, okay? It's a fuel that you have to keep like filled up to keep that tank full. And it is one of the few and almost only fuels that we don't actually need to get from the outside world. Okay, so if you look at like literal hunger, thirst, having a roof over your head, money to fund your dreams, all are in some way at least associated with your external reality. Connection, on the other hand, is the only thing that is fully sourced from your internal reality. Now, you could say love is sourced from your internal reality, but that comes from connection too. And the best part of it is that by sourcing a well of unshakable connection with your internal reality, everything else that you wish to see possible in your external reality becomes a lot easier to attain. Donna is asking, is there a PDF of your displays available for download? I could, if Christopher or Julie, if you remind me later, we can get a PDF, like maybe a Dropbox link. So Donna, we'll work on it and we'll let you know. How does that sound? Julie, if you could track that, that would be awesome. Okay. And if you also want a PDF DM'd to you, let us know, and Julie will track that and make sure that you get a PDF of our notes. Okay. So back to this internal external reality connection. Thank you, Donna, for asking. So, you know that concept of as within, so without? It is not spiritual mumbo jumbo. I mean, people might use it like that, but ultimately it's not. Instead, it is one of the core elements of metaphysical mastery that will allow you to harness your power to co-create your desires into tangible change. Okay, so connection is the metaphysical glue that causes either congruence or incongruence between your external and your internal environment. Okay? An unstable, doubtful, or dissociated connection will cause push and pull between your internal and external reality. So let's look at this metaphysically. So we know that everything's energy, right? I think we can at this point all agree on that. And we know that the energy of everything, the energy that is everything, and therefore it vibrates at different frequencies, okay? We know that. And this also means that everything going on inside of and around you is moving at a specific frequency. It's an ever-changing frequency, but a specific frequency. Our reality is made up of waves and particles, light and electrons, which make up an experience of duality, or the appearance of duality, based upon the appearance of positive and negative forces. But this isn't a science lesson, okay? And I am not a mainstream scientist. I am a sorceress. We are talking about energy and how that energy can be used to influence the authentic power you can emulate as a leader. So the experience of duality is woven into the fabric of the human experience. What is less obvious is that light and dark are not about good versus bad. And though this might be something that you know consciously, the way that our psyche interprets perceptions of light and dark, it's a whole other ballgame. And a much more unconscious, and if we're not deeply self-aware, subversive one. Okay? It is the unconscious perceptions and visceral experiences of aversion and duality that drive this push and pull, okay, between your inner and outer world. The continuous movement of particles and waves that your unconscious is interpreting in every moment, if used as intended, they become moving forces to show you where you're out of alignment with your creator self. And if used as intended, they guide you back there so that you can live out the purpose, self-expression, and full human experience you're meant to have. That is part of what connection does. But when incongruence arises, it is not as simple as dismissing the dark and just claiming the light. Okay, a lot of people will want you to believe that, but it's not that simple. In fact, efforts to do so are spiritual bypassing at best and will unfortunately lead to far greater challenges. So connection is the barometer for trust and guidance through the dualistic experience that is expressing your creativity, okay, which for most of you here is in the form of a business, a calling, maybe parenting, or a change that you are working towards. Now, we don't only experience poles or, opposite ends of duality in the energies that move through our businesses and lives. Connection itself actually has poles of duality. So on one hand, connection is the barometer to guide your steps with truth. On the other hand, it is also the metaphysical warning sign when something's off and out of alignment with what is in your highest good. So connection cannot be fully understood with a cognitive brain. It's not supposed to be. Cognitive thinking will convince us that we understand connection, but what we understand at that point is still hollow and superficial in comparison to what's available through the experience of connection, which is a deep, ever-growing, ever-expanding experience. Connection, it's presence, and presence is timeless. And the timelessness of presence will allow you to access healing within yourself and change within your business and relationships that linear time just cannot. Now, we need linear time, and we're going to go through that in a little bit, sort of, today, okay? But connection, it requires that we also know the nonlinear form of time at the same time. So, time at the same time. Now, this is the space of connection that we're talking about. This is a space where people heal from chronic illness that a doctor might tell you is impossible to heal from. And mental illness that a psychiatrist will tell you must have medication. And it is the space, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things, but this is a space where those things can heal without, okay? And it is a space where businesses that couldn't be helped by even the best consultants suddenly pick up speed. In fact, all of these are literal transformations I have witnessed my students experience through connection. So let's look at the first part of the blueprint to access deep experiential connection that sustains even when the pressure is on. So the journey in using our experience of duality to forge connection is illustrated throughout our human design. So the more common experience, though, is that the mind drives this wedge of separation. Okay. Now, it has a tendency, the mind has a tendency to separate our head from our heart, our mind from our body, and ourselves from others, as well as ourselves from our environment. There are all sorts of mechanisms the mind uses to drive separation. In Spiral Leadership Academy, we use a nonlinear process to connect to all of them, to heal the separation in every area systematically. But for today, in the interest of time, we're going to go through one key area. So the mind. We know that the mind is constantly downloading, processing, and interpreting information. Now, some of the information you receive comes from the inner knowing of your soul. Okay, we have to translate that. Connection helps us translate that. Some of the information you receive comes from what you learn in the outside world, like through research or education. It also comes through how you perceive and translate your interactions with your environment. And some of it comes through a connection to the collective consciousness, which we're all connected to the consciousness of the entire collective. So some of the information is coming from that, whether we know it consciously or not. So when your brain leans towards processing, interpreting, and acting with one side of the brain more than the other, it causes separation in how you experience connection, both inside of yourself and in your environment. So when we rely too heavily on the right side of the brain without balancing it or integrating it with the left, we miss out on vital data essential for business growth, okay? An overactive right brain can lead to resisting key business structures, like total resistance of structure. It'll lead to poor time management and unclear communication, okay? And this often results in a disconnect from the practical aspects of business growth. So no matter how activated your use of the right brain is, productivity, money making, and impact are all severely limited when not integrated with the other half of the brain. Then those who favor the left side of the brain tend to default to logic, which strips them of empathy, okay, strips them of heart, unconsciously avoids subtle awareness that they require to know the difference between power and force. Relying too much on the left brain, it causes us to miss out on deeper understanding available through the senses, okay? And left brain dominant people might struggle with trust. And what happens is when people feel that one person doesn't trust, they become untrustworthy to others. So right brain dominance can mean getting overwhelmed by emotions, while left brain individuals tend to misinterpret or avoid emotions altogether. So I want to hear in the comments, and I will be back in a moment to check the comments after I'm going to ask, move on, and I'll come right back for this. I want to hear from you. Which side of the brain do you tend to default to the most often? I would love to hear in the comments. Just want to check also what's been going on. Paul put a great quote in there. Awesome, awesome. Yay. Okay, so I want to hear again, which side of the brain is most dominant for you? And what does that do? What does that do to possibly create resistance or challenges inside of your business or your career, or maybe your personal life too? So prioritizing one brain hemisphere can hinder connection and understanding with others, causing issues like team dynamics, such as imbalances that strain the nervous system, and they can lead to bodily confusion, okay, which causes avoidance or resistance in decision making. A lack of harmony between the two brain halves causes a rift between our external circumstances and our internal world. So this misalignment often leads people to address symptoms instead of root causes. And this leads people to spend large sums of money and countless hours on coaching, programs, and solutions that treat the symptom instead of the cause, which has them winding up on an endless hamster wheel of personal growth and attempted business solutions that at best only partially help. I want to hear left side, good balance. Left side, we've got more left people than rights today. In the container of Spiral Leadership Academy, we definitely have a strong balance of people who have geared towards one or the other. And it's fun to watch them all kind of come together as this balances. So how do we strengthen healthy neuroplasticity to generate connection, collaboration, and unity between the right and the left brain so that all aspects of the brain's wisdom work in harmony? In Spiral Leadership Academy, we use a multifaceted process to recalibrate the wisdom of the brain, okay, which this process, what it does is it gets out of the way the parts of the brain that do not serve so that you can develop healthy neuroplasticity in the parts that do serve for connection. So first, we use a bunch of simple and easy to access techniques to bring the inherent connection between the two sides of the brain into unity. Okay. In fact, when people first come into Spiral Leadership Academy, there's this one specific technique. I'm not going to get a chance to teach it today, but there's one specific technique that everybody has as homework so they can settle in and go deeper right away. It's truly like magic. Now, the right and the left brain are designed to work together. Okay, they are. So we begin with these simple techniques to reverse the process of unhealthy neuroplasticity, repairing and resolving unconscious mechanisms of control, exhaustion, mental fatigue that were unknowingly causing us to default to protective mechanisms in communication, relationships, and how we view the world or the choices we make. Then we bring our minds online with the world of energy. Okay, when our minds connect with the world of energy, it actually helps us to integrate the right and the left brain. So the world of energy, it's not some airy fairy thing that is separate from running a business. Energy operates with systems that have predictable structure to initiate the flow you wish to experience in your creativity, connection with others, and the momentum in the change that you are working towards. Deeper than understanding, in SLA, we use exercises to activate embodied use of the structure and flow of creation's natural systems. And next, we go through a training ground to command your use of metaphysical energy for direct use in business and relationships. This looks like internal, verbal, movement, and action-oriented practice that you can bring directly into your leadership and career, okay, to adjust to using the inherent systems of energy that bring both sides of the brain online together. here is an example of what's possible. So this is my student, Paolo. Paolo came to me, he came to Spiral Leadership Academy and to me, struggling with lingering patterns of self-doubt and feelings of not good enough. He's a sales director for a prestigious airline, and he had managed to be just successful. This is very common of many of my students, just successful enough in business, or common when they come to me. But he still felt like he wasn't valued as a leader. Now, by using the process that we just went through, he was able to get a raise, allowing him to pay off his entire mortgage in half the time that he had intended. He is now so much more grounded no matter what happens in business. And when a challenge arises, instead of scrambling and like losing sight of himself to resolve it, he stays deeply grounded and connected to himself. And he has learned how to emulate this depth of inner connection and teach it to his team, which has helped them reach new sales goals. Now, to authentically integrate both sides of the brain and come into grounded interconnection, okay, to grounded connection with ourselves and our environment, a strong connection to the body is a must, okay? So we really have to work with this so we can overcome connection to the body, okay? Without consistent access to the wisdom in the body, separation does remain. So we need to anchor, and sustain. We need to anchor and sustain connection with the body to be able to notice and dissolve layers of ego before they inhibit the well-being of your business, team, and family. And without the body, self-awareness and discernment are an illusion carved out by protection mechanisms of the mind, okay? There are two primary sides to this. Okay, so within the context of how you relate, communicate, and innovate, your body helps you experience yourself and the world. Okay, now I am not referring to experience as something that you've seen or done before. In this case, experience refers to your internal, visceral, conscious, and sensory navigation of what is both inside of and around you. Then on the other hand, of how we relate, communicate, and innovate, we have perception. Okay, we can't avoid this perception part. It is part of our human reality, okay? Now, with the mind as the primary navigation system, perception operates from unconscious ego. When our unconscious is trying to protect us, it thwarts authentic connection. The body, on the other hand, is like the motherboard to untangle confusion, complexity, and conflict between your perception and your experience of yourself and the world. So to understand the wisdom in the body, let's draw it out. So we have the present, okay, the present, which is where you are right now. And then there's the growth or change you desire, which again could be for the world, for your family, for your freedom, your business, etc. Okay, now you are either in this trajectory, you are either going to go here, okay, which is the fruition of your deepest and greatest desires. So when you're embodying what you need to be, who you need to be for this change and your behaviors and actions, as well as the magic of life, it all adds up to the fruition of your desires, okay? Or you're going to go there, or you are going to go, that's a funny arrow, or you're going to go here, okay? Which is either crisis mode, okay? Or more commonly, you might just be stuck, like maybe you have reached a plateau that you just can't seem to get out from, and change isn't happening. And frankly, this stuck mode can often actually feel worse than the crisis mode. So as you go through this pathway, the journey of building a business or building upon your desires in life, okay, things happen that could throw you out of connection. Maybe unexpected challenges, friction in life or business, emotions arise, life circumstances change, patterns resurface. Now, our bodies absorb the energy, okay, that is intended to be both processed and cleared. This is both the energy that we're exposed to through the interconnection between ourselves and our environment, as well as emotions and feelings that arise to be processed. Okay, so without proper calibration of our somatic wisdom, our bodies unconsciously store emotion and stuck energy. Okay, energy like gets stuck in our bodies when we don't properly calibrate. So this affects function of the body's systems, which can cause illness, burnout. Our bodies can hold unprocessed energy, causing you to feel ungrounded, have trouble focusing. Life might feel heavy or harder than you know it should. And when the energy and emotion isn't dealt with, it'll drive further neuroplasticity of overthinking, disconnect from the body, and feelings of urgency. So I want to hear from you. Vernon, I'm curious if you wanted to know more about the stuck in crisis mode. Let me know in the comments if you want me to expand on that. Otherwise, I'm going to keep moving on. And for all of you, I want to hear in the comments, what are some signs for you? Okay, when you know that your body is off. Let's hear those in the comments. It is discussed in the book. Well, I don't know, actually. I've heard that. I don't read a lot because it gets all from in here. That's what connection does. I've heard that. I've heard that, Kevin. Thank you. Okay, so Inspire Leadership Academy, we work closely with the field of presence, okay, which activates the innate wisdom in the body. Oops, that's not where I meant to go. I meant to go here. Okay, so we work closely with the field of presence, which activates the innate wisdom in the body to bridge the gap between experience and perception. Okay, so first, by doing so, you will learn how to identify. Oops, let me get a new pen. First, you'll learn how to identify how it is that those systems of energy, both the waves and the particles, show up in your business and relationships to give you signs when something is off. Okay, then you'll learn how to locate where that energy is stuck or activated in your body without your mind's tendency to make false meaning or attempt to protect you getting in the way. Then you'll learn how to clear that stuck or pent up energy, and then how to transmute dark matter into the love that it is actually meant to be. And when we go into the cracks and crevices that your body's been holding, like the cracks and crevices of your body's internal landscape that have been holding shadow, that have been affecting your experience of the world. So once we go into those cracks and crevices, you start to find this like deeper connection. What clears away in the cracks and crevices is almost like a cosmic connection, you could say, that might not have even seemed possible prior. Then you will learn how to add up all of these pieces of somatic awareness to locate energy, emotion, limited perception, and unsupportive experiences that manifest before they manifest into the inhibiting of the well-being of your business, team, or family. So instead of needing to think positive thoughts, instead you clear from your body, mind, and energy field what doesn't serve, okay, by loving it, which allows you to operate from organic joy. Okay, this is an organic, not a force, but an organic sense of joy. And no matter what shows up on your path to growth, this allows you to move through everything with stability and peace, okay? And consistent forward momentum on your goals so that the future becomes the present. So now, as cellular connection between the mind and body is activated, it allows the wisdom of your soul to surface, okay? Your body houses your DNA. Your DNA holds both the wounds and wisdom of your ancestors. And your DNA holds the unique codes of wisdom that you have, both for your fulfillment in knowing yourself and impact in expressing and building a bigger contribution. By the way, I have been getting lately a ton of messages. The more people are starting to learn about ancestral Ancestral connections and ancestral trauma. I've been getting a ton of messages lately from leaders wanting to learn more about how ancestral healing, DNA transformation, and alchemy can help them uniquely, like wanting to better understand the measurable results this can bring them in business growth or leadership. So if that is you, just quick note that that is one of the things that we can do on a 15-minute Spiral Strategy call. So just a reminder that the link to grab a call is in the comments below. So now we become able to flip the script, okay, so that our experience and perception are connected, become connection, okay? And at that point, we are able to shift out of, see if I can get this erased without erasing everything else, out of separation and into what we truly desire, what supports everything, which is connection. Okay, so if the mind and body resolve, okay, you might be wondering, well, if the mind and body resolve so much of the separation that keeps us from connection, why would we still need to work directly with the soul and the spirit? Okay, now this part, the soul, is where many people get stuck without knowing it. So to understand what's going on here and how to resolve it, I want to invite you to consider the things that you know would make the world a better place. So what is it that if people just understood this thing, or they just knew how to do this or that, or if only we'd embrace XYZ as a collective, everything could change for the better, okay? For you, whatever that is, chances are you were born with this inner knowing. But we were also born into a world that was systematically designed or set up to shut that inner knowing down. Every action or behavior, and this isn't always on purpose, right? A lot of this isn't on purpose. Every action or behavior from your parents or your caretakers, from teachers or the kids you grew up with, was more than likely done with good intention. But the bottom line is that whether you faced abuse as a child or you grew up in a healthy, loving environment, regardless, you are forced to unconsciously place layers of protection around your inner knowing, okay? And I mean this like for real, okay? I have plenty of students who have been through mega abuse, and yes, they have to process that trauma in order to come home to their inner knowing. And then I have plenty of other students who are like, I had a great childhood, everything was great, but the deeper, when we actually dig into those cracks and crevices, they find layers of ancestral protection, unconscious things that still need to be processed so they can access that inner knowing, okay? Now, for you, when you were a child, the world wasn't ready for it, okay, for that knowing that you had, or people didn't understand it. And nobody taught you how to make sense of the complexity and wisdom of your soul. So you were forced to numb, suppress, or shut down your inner power and that deep knowing. So then the question becomes, well, what happens when we try to take our wisdom out into the world and use it to run a business, lead a team, or be more loving with our families? We face unconscious layers of protection that have been formed around your soul's wisdom. And this causes frustration and confusion, especially in how we relate to and connect with others. Okay, I'm checking back in on the last questions. Tunnel vision is a sign. Stuck in crisis. Carry junk on my shoulders. Yes, continuously in crisis. If you have more questions about dealing with that at the end, Vernon, I'm happy to discuss that in our Q&A. Paul says, lots of great comments. Paul says, improving the lives of others automatically improves your calling in this life. That is true. That is true. Energetically, I think what Paul's also describing is that energetically, when we get up to serve, it actually, giving is receiving. They're literally one and the same. Like our bodies don't necessarily know the difference energetically when it comes from a pure place. So it fills up our cup, right? Now, I want to hear from each of you, again, all of you beautiful humans in the comments. What is an inner knowing, okay, or a sense of purpose that you feel called to express more fully? Let's hear those in the comments, please. Now, it doesn't make logical sense when people don't see or understand you, okay? It looks like it's them who don't understand because the layers of protection, unconsciously shielding your soul's inner wisdom, have had to work long and hard to keep that wisdom intact when the world wasn't ready for it. Layers of separation between your inner knowing and your relationships or environment can be really hard to diagnose. Now, you might realize that you are the common denominator, that the issues lie with you, okay? But You might not know how to access it, let alone what to do with those layers of protection once you find them. Okay, the solution lies in soul exploration. So let's look at what are the pieces of soul exploration. And before we do that, I want to check in with the comments. Improving, oh wait, that was previous. Love for all of creation. Oh, beautiful, Paul. Vernon says, energetically, I am the opposite of Paul. No deed goes unpunished in my life. What I will say, Vernon, is that I have found the opposite ends of the pole. We're talking about poles today, or at least we have been, and we will come back to that later. It's funny because it seems like it's so much easier for, and I don't know if this is your experience, Vernon, it seems like it's so much easier for the other person. What I have found is that there's so much gift in that opposite end of the pole. Kelly says, ask the question again. I've still got the slide pulled up. The question was, what is an inner knowing or sense of purpose that you feel called to express in the world more fully? Now, you might feel called to express this more in your business or your career, maybe even on a spiritual path for a while, and you're feeling called to bring it into your business. What's something that you wish that everyone at work could dance with you or could understand, or what is something, a bigger calling that you're wanting to get out to the world. So something that you feel called to express from your soul. I want to hear those again in the comments. Thank you, Kelly, for asking to hear it again. Okay, so let's look at this diagram of what it takes. Oops. Uh-oh. Guess what, y'all? That is very weird. Okay, so I'm going to use the wrong page. One of my note sheets has literally disappeared. Okay, there it is now. Okay, perfect. So again, the solution lies in soul exploration. So there are 4 key pieces to the path of soul exploration that will help to ground it in the world so that you can actually use it in your business or your career. Okay, so there, however, is a very common pitfall that we have to overcome. So when most people work with the soul, they go all the way into this side, which is the infinite, okay? When they work with the soul, most people go all the way into this idea of infinity, okay? This awareness of infinity. Now, infinity is beautiful. Yes, we are infinite, right? However, this is one of the common pitfalls that even like meditation and plant medicines, when worked with from a place of unconscious ego or protection around your inner knowing, this is one of the biggest pitfalls. Okay, so when we access infinity or the infinite without a grounding force, we risk separating our spiritual practice from our business or career. Okay, so here in the middle, we need the grounding force, which acknowledging when ego's in the way, acknowledging those layers of separation actually helps us to ground, okay? So this is what causes this, where we risk separating business from career when we go all the way into the infinite. This is what causes a lot of business leaders to think that they can't bring their spiritual selves into their businesses. Okay, I have worked with thousands of students who have come to me after decades already of advanced spiritual work, still to, at the time before working with me, be unable to experience the expansiveness and connection that they find in spiritual practice in their business or career. Okay, but that's not spirit. Spirit's in everything, right? So we have to apply this method. Now, what stops most leaders from bringing the expansiveness of spiritual practice into a consistent and grounded place in their business or career is something that a lot of leaders think they have, but they haven't yet integrated into their soul's inner knowing. So those layers of protection around their wisdom still lurk and cause them to think that they've embodied it, but it's missing from how they express and how other people experience the expression of their inner wisdom. So specifically on this side here, what is needed is the embodiment of unknowing. However, we want to stay grounded today, okay? Today is not time to go deep into the energies. So to further ground this energy and this awareness of unknowing, in this diagram, I'm going to call it humility. Humility, okay? So humility runs a lot deeper and requires a lot more self-awareness and growth than a lot of people realize. This is where we connect to those subtle, often unconscious protection mechanisms and how we relate to our inner wisdom. Even the deep knowing in the soul can be shielded by control, scarcity, reactivity, perceived urgency, fear, and feelings of not good enough. Leaders are conditioned to need to know. We are taught as leaders that we have to rely on our intellect and our expertise, but the soul is actually designed to shed, to shed layers of knowing as much as it is to know, Just like if you think about, our bodies are designed to digest food. Our bodies are designed to breathe and be breathed, Our souls are designed to shed layers of knowing as much as they are to know. And it is through the shedding that we unknow, or that we know, through the unknowing that we unknow. So the unknowing allows us to connect to the next steps that we need to take to execute our purpose, practically speaking, in business. So to clarify and further ground your soul's wisdom into the practical world, we also need to work with these two other energies. We need to work with the past and the future. If you've ever seen my other trainings where we go more through the Fibonacci sequence, you may recall how important it is to work with the energies of the past and future, because literally that is how the creation spiral is moving us into the present to grow into the future. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. Just wanted to note for those of you that have been coming to my live streams for a while or working with me already, yes, it is connected. So this is a process of shedding the protection mechanisms around your unique wisdom that have led you to lose sight of yourself while you are busy taking action in your business. So by the cleansing forces of the past, into the present, we use the present to cleanse the past. Through this, you are able to do the inner work that you want to do, that you need to do, without having to separate yourself from the day-to-day of running a business, You stay in the present, the past comes in energetically, and we teach you a process of just being able to work through it while you are present, staying with your business to clean out the past. So this is a process of expansion, unknowing, and integration of the past and the future that will help you to trust the wisdom of your inner knowing so you can remain consistently connected to it. It'll peel away those layers of protection, and it'll help you build healthy boundaries in your business and your leadership so the external factors that used to kick you out of connection, no longer interfere with your workflow and your energy field. And what will happen is, as we work with the present, this grounding force is also the present, we become able to connect to the future that leads us forward. The future, or really the past and the present, add up to lead us into the future, but it's also the future that is leading us there. Syntropy and entropy, if you know what those things are, if you're sciencey. So let's look at an example. So this is my student, Francesca. So Francesca came into Spiral Leadership Academy exhausted and losing sight of her true identity. Within months, she is a nonprofit leader and executive director of a nonprofit. Within months of applying, just a few months actually, of applying our blueprint for deep connection, she really learned what it means to come home to the self. So Francesca stopped numbing and hiding from the shadows. She found true space and spaciousness within herself, moving decades of childhood trauma and generations of ancestral trauma without it distracting from her busy work, leadership, or parenting. The depth that she found bridged generational gaps in her team and helped to unite her team. She brought on a whole bunch of new team members that she was able to get trained more quickly because of this. And it brought ease and joy to parenting, and it gave her time freedom as inner space reaped the rewards of stability and time for herself, even in her busy schedule. So it even actually led her to be able to finally write that book that she had been wanting to write for a long time because she got her time back. So we have looked at what you need for the mind to balance the right and left brain for connection and unity. Then we have covered the body and how to use our somatic experience to clear what has been blocking us before it becomes an obstacle. And we've explored how to go deep into the infinite nature of the soul without, or while remaining grounded in the practical world of execution and business. So now let's look at the final component, which is spirit. So to understand how to use, I've got a slide for this, to understand how to use this element in our human experience. I almost lost all your comments. Um, Paul says something was not true. I'm not sure what it was. If you want to discuss later, we can, whatever that was. And by the way, there might be things that you think are not true because every element of truth has a polar seeming opposite in our human experience. So that might have been the case, that maybe something also wasn't true at the exact same time as it was. That could be too. But if you want to discuss, I'm totally open to it in the Q&A later, Paul. Thank you. And then he said absolutely true about something else. I love it. Okay, so again, we're going to look at this final component, spirit. So to understand how to use this element of our human experience to strengthen our connection, let's come back to the awareness of duality that we talked about earlier. So remember how we said that even if, where is it? Even if you consciously connect and know that there is no such thing as good versus bad, even if you know consciously, oh, there is no good nor bad. No, they're not opposite forces, even if you know that. Most people still have an unconscious experience of the dark and the light as separate, okay? Unconsciously we do. Really, all of us still have layers of this. No matter how deep you've already gone, there's still going to be layers to forge there. So this causes us to experience the push and pull, okay, of duality with our circumstances, our relationships, and how we interact with the world around us, okay? So if you think about push and pull that you might experience in business, maybe it's the friction in that, relationship with that colleague, or it's where you just feel like there's a lot of balls to juggle. That is literally related to the experience we have of these like polar dark and light, seeming forces, right? So you can think of spirit as the energy of all that is. You may consciously know that it is all God or that it's all the same energy as the universe. By the way, quick note, if I use the word God, you can replace it with any other word that you prefer. It's all the same energy, okay, essentially. So again, you might consciously know that it's all God or it's all the same energy of the universe, but this unconscious aversion and like unconscious cellular aversion and bias towards our preferred experience drives us away from the experiences that we need to be having as tools and guideposts to live out our vision and grow our business, okay, or career, whatever it is for you. So what happens there is that those unconscious aversions and unprocessed traumas lead us to situations and environments where we experience just that, okay? So let's look at this in drawing form. I don't know what happened, y'all. Like I had all of my slides set up and then, so some of them don't have the titles they're supposed to. All right, clear. Everything was set up earlier and two disappeared. Okay, so we're gonna look at this in drawing form now. This, my friend, is you, okay? This is not what you look like, but this is a representation of you. And these over here are the other things going on in your life. Oops, business, career. These are the things, let's actually just use one color. These are the things that strip you out of connection to yourself. Okay, so it might be friction in your relationship, extra balls to juggle. It could be that colleague that you perceive as toxic. Okay, it might be the boss who expects too much of you, or that investor or board member who constantly needs to puff their chest to dominate with false power. Now, this is where so many people break the flow of connection to themselves and connection to each other without realizing it. So empaths in these situations, or those who know themselves to be empaths, tend to tell themselves that it is harder for them, okay, because they're picking up all the energy around them. And those who are good at painting a positive light on things, on the other hand, tell themselves that it's not me, it's them, brushing away the challenge. In either of these situations, both are protection mechanisms, okay, developed from the same aversion and duality that we looked at earlier. So what we want to do instead is embrace the experience of duality by learning to love it all. Now, to understand this, let's come back to the awareness that we discussed, the awareness that as a leader today, we require the presence of a Buddha, the perseverance of Mandela, the compassion of Jesus, and the fierceness of Gandhi. But we don't have time to sit on mountaintops to get it. In fact, I have witnessed people go away, sit on the mountaintop for years, become Buddhist monks. They are equanimous. They come back. They go back to work. They go back to that householder lifestyle, and suddenly they have aversion. Suddenly there is dark. Suddenly they don't like this, or that person is that. Okay, so the mountaintop isn't even necessarily what does the trick. Okay, so the thing about all of these models of profound leadership that we have here, these models that we have been given of Jesus, Mandela, Gandhi, etc., okay, is that none of them were able to get this level of leadership by shutting out the world, okay? They were not able, they did not shut out the world. That is not how they did it. So each of them in their own way fully let in, okay? Let in. Now, yes, they had boundaries, but they also let in the things that the world called toxic, and they learned to love those things. Now, we don't just get there by telling ourselves that we love something, okay? Instead, to do this, to do this, we have to shed our relationship or shift our relationship with duality and aversion that arises when dealing with certain people. Okay, so our bodies, minds, and souls to get there, what we need is to embrace the experience and embody the experience of loving it all. Okay, to do this, we have to love every shadow inside of and outside of us. To experience, or the experience that an empath has, picking up the pain around them, for example, isn't because those around them are in pain. Those around them might be in pain, okay, but the experience that empath is having of experiencing pain is because if something can enter us, it is ultimately ours to process. So similarly, if we have an aversion to something that causes us to want to dissociate from it by just thinking positive thoughts, there is also a wound causing that aversion that is yours to process, okay? So Jesus, Buddha, Mandela, Gandhi, they did not show up with such authentic power because they deemed things as not a vibrational match. They showed up with authentic power because they calibrated their bodies, their minds, their consciousness, and their energy fields to be able to hold all vibrations as love and with love. So in business and relationships, like something being a vibrational match does not mean high vibe, okay? It means that the vibration that you can hold, it means that you are able to hold that vibration of pain, trauma, resistance, and fear of others, and emulate it with love, with compassion, peace, presence, and lightness of being that allows you to transmute that pain, okay, that perception of pain from that vibration into loving that too, with presence, without being forced, okay? So I want to check in with you again in the comments. So for you, what is one area, person, or circumstance with which you struggle to love it all? I want to hear your honest take on that, where everybody's got a place, right? Or many places. For some people, it's that one relationship. Oh, that person's a narcissist, or at least it feels like it, right? For others, it's that colleague or what they perceive to be toxic. Some people, it's road rage, right? So for you, where is it most challenging to love it all? I want to hear those in the comments. Now, in Spiral Leadership Academy, we use a systematic process of rewiring I'll leave this up just in case, of rewiring our neural pathways, okay? Healing through somatic experience and recalibrating our inner wisdom to hold exactly what is showing up in your business and relationships with a presence of authentic power. Through genuinely loving it all, you become able to sustain a consistently grounded, peaceful, and trusting connection to yourself and others simultaneously. So let's recap. I want to hear, so some people said wife, mom, brothers, sisters. Oh, family, our biggest reflections, are they not? Those who appear to not hear the things that you share. That one, I feel you on that one, Kelly. Yeah. I think most of us, if you are indeed a deep soul, Kelly, which most of the people that get attracted into my live streams are, and my work are. So if indeed you are a deep soul, which I sense you probably are, it is really common for us deep souls to feel not seen and not heard because, again, those layers of protection, we had to really work hard to protect that wisdom when we were little, or maybe even in other lifetimes, if you believe that to be a thing. So shall we recap? So we went through mind, body, soul, and spirit, and why all 4 elements of your human experience are crucial to strengthen our inner connection, especially when it comes to using authentic power as the well of wisdom to grow your business, right? So it becomes at this point more obvious just how much the way you relate, communicate, and innovate as a leader affects your ability to stay connected to yourself and emulate the power of that connection in your leadership. So it is important to frame this in your mind and shift that awareness, okay, to realizing that the most potent kinds of personal growth really, I don't like shoulding, but should not be kept separate from your business or career, okay? That is how we grow. So no leader wants to use force instead of power. Very few people actually want that, very few. But when we allow unconscious disconnect, numbness, aversions, and feelings of separation to perpetuate how we show up in business and relationships, what we want to be authentic power unintentionally becomes force. So now I invite you to imagine what a sustainable, anchored, and authentic power will feel like. If you were truly able to love it all, like every single thing that shows up in your business or career, every single thing that happens in your relationships or your family, everything that's going on in the world today, if you were to truly love it all, what would be possible in the grounded, peaceful, and powerful connection you would have inside of yourself? And boy, do I have some stories I could tell you of how much can shift so I want you to dream into the full spectrum of what would be possible for you, okay? And if you were able to show up with your colleagues or team, your clients or investors, and your family as a consistently grounded presence, if you were able to show up loving it all, holding yourself in a powerful container, and able to hold space for them without taking on their fears and fully centered, okay, in your soul's inner knowing without losing sight of it when the pressure is on, what would that do for your productivity, your team's commitment and productivity, your revenues and salary, and how would it get back the time and energy that you need for the freedom you so deserve? So even if you're comfortable where you are right now, you know that chances are comfort isn't where your authentic power is at. So I want you to consider what you'd like to see change in your business, life, and relationships, but getting just a little bit more uncomfortable now. Okay, what are those changes that you've yearned for, but maybe didn't even think were possible? So connection and authentic power that comes from it, it'll bring you there. So I do invite you to envision this for yourself. I very much invite you to envision this for yourself and what you'd like to see amplify in your business or grow or shift in relationships, okay? Just by who you're being every day. So if you're ready to embrace a next level of your leadership development, one where the power that fuels your business and life comes from someplace much bigger than you alone, one where the bar for your transformation is higher than maybe you even knew it could be, then Spiral Leadership Academy is where it's at. So if that sounds like you, the easiest way to learn more is to jump onto a 15-minute call so that you can explore whether this is a fit for you uniquely. So you can do that. There's a link up on the screen. You can also go to spiralgrowthsystems.com/spiral strategy call, or just put it in the search bar. Again, link in the comments, link on the screen. You can find it in all the places. Now, to clarify, this is not a sales call. Okay, there's not going to be anything to buy on the call. That is not how we roll. It is an opportunity for us to be sure that we can help you, and for you to be sure that we feel like a mutual fit and that is even worth your time investment to further explore what I offer. So if we're not the right fit for you, we'll be able to tell you what is a better fit. And if we are, we can then lay out next steps for you to get really clear on the measurable outcomes that we can help you with. So again, the link to book that 15-minute call is in the comments. By the way, when you book that 15-minute call, there is a bonus training that will be coming your way. Just to know. I mean, don't book it just for the bonus, but just to know if you're enticed to book it, there is a bonus coming. And also, if you have questions for us, okay, questions about working together, questions about what else might be possible, or you want to schedule a call, but you got to ask something first, then you can email us at ask@spiralgrowthsystems.com with the subject line questions. Please don't spam us there, though. Somebody the other day, the only place we have ever given that email is in live streams. And somebody has started spamming us, so don't do that. But also feel free to reach out and ask anything that you genuinely need. Okay, so that's, again, email us there if you need anything, and we'll be happy to support you. And now, without further ado, let's jump into questions. So I love all comments, all shares. If we were face-to-face audio on, we would have time for shares too, but go ahead and please do put your shares in the comments. And then if you have a question, if you haven't already done this because you wouldn't have known earlier, if you have a question, put a Q in front of it, okay, the letter Q in front of it so that I know, or Julie knows that it's a question that you'd like for me to answer. So I'm going to hang tight, and I do think there's a couple of questions that might have gotten submitted earlier. So Julie, do you want to, in the document, Julie, if you have seen any questions coming in, go ahead and please pull those out and put them in our document. And then the rest of you, let us know your questions. And then we've got another free bonus coming shortly after. Okay, so while we're waiting to see if you have any questions, I am going to respond to the two that have been submitted. Okay, so somebody asked in the DMs, can you tell me more about what somatic experiencing is? Like, what does it really mean and how does it work? It's a good question. So somatics refers essentially, like in a nutshell, to the experience of our body, okay, the sensory experience that we have in our physical body. Now, the thing about the physical body is that it is so much more powerful than we make it out to be, okay? I think it's like, shoot, I don't have the number with me right now. The amount of neurons that are firing and the data and information that can be processed from our body, it's something like 40 million times the amount of data that can be processed in the prefrontal cortex. Okay, so the prefrontal cortex, what it can process in 1 second or 1 minute, I think it's like 40 million times more that can be in the body. Okay, and then we've got like, what is it, like 11 trillion cells in our body or something like that? I cannot remember the numbers right now, but if you think about it, the cells in our body are basically literally like a universe unto themselves. Like if you've ever seen inside the anatomy of a cell, it's like a universe, okay? And where I'm going with that is there's a lot of information available in our bodies. There's a lot of stored data from our ancestors, from experiences that we've had, the past and the future experiences. There's stored data from our soul's inner knowing. There's stored data from childhood trauma that we've been holding on to. There's stored data in our bodies. So when we work with somatics, we use movement, we use physical connection to the body, we use quite literally retraining our minds to stay physically connected so that we live in our bones, we live in our blood, we live in our skin, we live in our muscles, okay? And we also use the subtle awareness. I teach my students how to get to know the subtle awareness in the body. And what happens when we do this is a wisdom comes through like you'd never seen before. And I mean this because like I said, a lot of my students come to me. I have plenty of students that have not done a lot of deep spiritual work yet. They just are deeper souls, ready for this work. And many come to me after tons of spiritual work already. And what we find, nonetheless, no matter what, is that there is this wisdom that comes out when we connect to our somatic experience that is like nothing else. It's especially fun in our practicum sessions where they get to be the teachers. The wisdom inside of your bones is, again, it's cosmic. So that is that. Other question, I have seen a few of your other live streams, and I'm interested in the idea of the spiral leadership model. Can you tell me this is a good question. Can you tell me how today's topic connects to the other leadership accelerators? So let's actually look at these topics. Let's go back to this other one that's not as messy. Bada bing. Oh, that's not what I meant. Has this been up the whole, oh no, because I had the question slide up. Okay, here we are. So today we are working on creating connection, right? So the question is, in the Spiral Leadership Model, we have got 9 leadership accelerators and 3 pillars: relate, communicate, innovate. How does this topic of create connection connect to the others? Such a good question. So what we actually find is that we require each one to fully expand the other. Okay, this is why I'm doing my live streams associated around each of these topics. So for example, with create connection, the depth of connection that we find when we now go into simplifying complexity, it allows us to surrender into a space of complexity where the universe, I don't know if you're aware that like the universe quite literally, when chaos ensues, ultimately, now there are obviously ways that we can co-create chaos that is not healthy, and there are ways that the universe creates chaos for us that is structure reorganizing itself for us. And so, as an example, when we create connection on a deep level, it allows us to surrender into the complexity so that chaos can reorganize itself and we don't have to do all the work in our businesses, in our lives, in our relationships. Okay, another example, dissolving friction. So when we dissolve friction, we are looking at the extra balls to juggle, the things that get in the way, those relationship patterns that are frustrating, that team member who always seems to be lagging, okay, that creates friction, slows down your business, slows down productivity. Maybe it's friction in your family, and now you show up at the office or home office and you're like, my subconscious is like still hanging on, or my body and energy field is still hanging on to that friction. It gets in the way. Okay, so when we dissolve friction, by creating connection, it allows us to literally dissolve it. Okay, literally. So instead of like thinking about our problems and working through them and figuring out why or how, I said that in kind of a condescending voice, that wasn't my intention. Instead of those things that don't totally serve, we create a connection to the energy of the friction that allows it to dissolve. So I can go on and on and on to how connection relates to all of these. The bottom line is, with each of these accelerators, one impacts the other, and the whole becomes infinitely greater than the sum of the parts. But each part impacts the whole and that's why we say that this is a framework for exponential growth. That is why we say this. It is systematic, it is a nonlinear systematic process, and it is a framework for exponential growth. So that is that. Let's see. I think everything is going on. Julie, thank you for handling everything in the chat. You are a rock star. Julie is a rock star. Can we all give Julie a thank you? Julie is truly one of my favorite people ever. She's a great human, and she's so good at what she does. So thank you, Julie. Okay. So I think that is the last question. Donna, we will work on the download. I think Donna actually had to go. So, like we're talking about, I already got this pulled up for the next thing I wanted to say before we close out. So creating connection, it is one of the 9 leadership accelerators, right? That you need to run your business, lead your team, love your family with authentic power that allows you to have a sweet spot where your impact and fulfillment unite everywhere in business and life. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I have a self-assessment for you, Julie. If your job's not done yet, thank you, Julie. So, and Julie knows, she's waiting for that. So I have a self-assessment. So if you want to learn more about the entire framework, this entire framework to cultivate your unique sweet spot between professional impact and personal fulfillment without it taking up extra time or energy in your already probably maybe busy life, then type self-assessment in the comments, okay? Or you can DM me, and Julie is going to be able to get that to you straight away. So again, if you want this self-assessment, type self-assessment in the comments or DM us with the word self-assessment, and we're going to get it off to you. So in the self-assessment, I'm going to take you through each of these 9 leadership accelerators, each of the accelerators that you need to unlock authentic power and catalyze exponential growth in every part of your leadership, your business, and your relationships. So you're going to walk away from this self-assessment. It's quite brief. And you're going to walk away from it knowing what specific things you need to focus on as it pertains to your specific goals in business and leadership, relationships, and life. So if that sounds good, please do comment below or DM me with the word self-assessment. And Julie is standing by to get that to you straight away. So, today, I have given you everything I can for today. We could be here, but I've learned well enough that if we stick around for too long, our systems can actually get fried with how much flows through here. So I've given you everything I can for today, but the real power of this work is in the container. In fact, let me quickly expand on what that means by container. So, Spiral Leadership Academy, it's not a program. I mean, it is. It is a very systematic, very well-designed program, thanks to an amazing team and co-creator I have that has built everything out systematically. And it's not just a program. Okay, Spiral Leadership Academy is a container, and it's also a community. And so what my students find is that they can reach into the container. It is supporting them in all moments. For example, yesterday I shared with I was moving. I don't usually share my personal stuff, but I shared that I was moving through something. And one of my students was like, well, yeah, but you show up to the container and it's here to support us all. So it's here for, like, you facilitate, but it's like, and that's, so where I'm going with that is this container. Okay, the real power of this work, it's the live streams are great, but the real power is in the container. It's in the energetic activations that we do, the expanding out that I will do so you can go deeper into the cracks and crevices and learn how to do it on your own. And the real power is also in the processes of the framework. So if you're ready for a next level, then I really do hope you'll book a call so that we can talk. And I say that with this energy of hope because I love talking to amazing people, and I have found that those interested in the work are amazing people. So if you're ready, then do book that call so that we can chat about where you're at right now. And again, the link is in the comments to do that, or you can go straight to in your browser to SpowerGrowthSystems.com/SpowerStrategyCall. So I think that's everything for now. We're going to get those last call for self-assessment. Put that in the chat or in the comments. I'm excited for each of you that have put it in the comments to gain access to that. I've felt a lot of love here and a lot of presence, and I'm really grateful for each of you. Paul says, my first time attending, grateful I'd attended. Oh, yay. Yay, yay, yay. Excellent. Oh, yay. What I do today is important because paying a day of my life for it. Yeah, yes, yes, yes. And just who you're being in the world, each of you. So you may be up to very important work in the world, and also loving your family is important. Loving yourself is important. And so the more we develop connection and presence to loving it all, the more we actually get to experience the importance of it and have that impact. So you're all amazing. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you infinitely for your presence and your time. And if you do book a call, I am excited to talk to you one-on-one. And I think we're out for now. All my love, Jordanna Eyre, signing off.